Mika, let's get started with new polls from battleground states.
Okay, the last Quinnipiac University polled, last time it polled Florida, Trump and Clinton were neck and neck at 43%. Now Clinton has opened up a 5-point lead, 46 to 41. Clinton has a 4-point lead in Pennsylvania, 45 to 41. Gary Johnson following 4 points there. In Ohio, Trump maintains a 5-point lead with both Trump and Clinton up since the last poll. Gary Johnson is down 8%. Johnson is down 8 points as well in North Carolina, with Clinton and Trump both rising again. Clinton leads there 46 to 43. That's inside the margin of error. And a Bloomberg poll of North Carolina shows Clinton leading there by just 1%. And while the trend lines had shown Trump closing the gap in Colorado, a new Monmouth poll has Clinton up 11 points there.
Let's go to the national polls and look at the national picture, Mika.
All right, an NBC News SurveyMonkey online poll. Clinton has expanded her lead by 1 point, now up 46% to 40% when you include third-party candidates. In the latest CBS News poll, Clinton's lead has grown to 4 points, a turnaround from earlier in September when the poll had the race in a dead heat. And while the debate had no effect on about half of all voters, 32% of likely voters who watched the debate say they think better of Clinton in the wake of her performance. 36% say they think worse of Trump. In the latest CNN ORC poll, Clinton has seen a 7-point swing. She now leads 47 to 42.
So let's go through these. And I must say, Lawrence, after the rambling second half debate performance, mixing somehow nuclear weapons and Rosie O'Donnell, and then
happens all the time.
It does. Then whining about the microphone, and then fat shaming
and doubling down on it,
and then doubling and tripling down and continuing to do that when people in the campaign were begging him to stop. And then the story that he hadn't paid taxes in 15 years, and then him mocking Hillary Clinton for having pneumonia and passing out, and then him, just as a throwaway line, suggesting that Hillary Clinton committed adultery with absolutely, positively no evidence.
And making fun of her being
whatsoever.
Sick.
Making fun. Yeah.
Like doing an imitation.
I would
of
not
her
expect
fainting.
him to be ahead by 5 points in Ohio. I would not expect Pennsylvania to basically be within the margin of error. He went up, even though he's down 4 points, he jumped up 5 points in that state. North Carolina, he jumped up 5 points, and he's down 1 there in a Bloomberg poll. This all seems to give little, I would think, little solace to Brooklyn. It should be a much larger Hillary Clinton lead, should it not?
Well, the challenge is how do you move undecideds into the columns of these candidates who are both very, very well known. And everything you just said, except for the tax story, which didn't get into the polling system soon enough, everything you just said that Donald Trump did at the debate was at a certain level unsurprising. It was only surprising that it was happening at a presidential debate, but it was all stuff we knew about Donald Trump. We knew this Miss Universe story. It was all out there.
Baked in the cake.
So if you were a Trump supporter, you already had this baked in. If you're an undecided, all this was baked into your indecision. And Hillary Clinton at the debate was who you thought Hillary Clinton would be at the debate, you know, full of governing competence and all of that stuff. And you're an undecided going into that debate. What did Hillary Clinton do to change an undecided vote? I mean,
do you agree with what everybody was saying last hour, that we've always been looking at Trump and everybody's talking about Trump and the media's focusing on Trump, but this is actually about Hillary Clinton. This is a vote of either confidence or no confidence against Hillary Clinton and the establishment in 2016.
Well, the hate Hillary vote is, my guess is, it's somewhere in the last 5% of Trump vote, meaning without the hate Hillary component, would Trump be at above 40? I doubt it.
No.
I doubt it.
Not even close.
Right.
I have so many people, Jim Vandehei, that tell me they think that Donald Trump is a loose cannon. They think he's a crazy guy. They may even be fearful that he could lead to World War III. But there's no way I'm going to ever vote for Hillary Clinton. I've got to vote for him. I hear that from my friends, especially in my hometown. I bet you hear it from your friends that you went to high school with in Wisconsin. We all hear it from our friends and relatives everywhere.
The question that I think everyone's trying to ponder is, like, then what happens with those people? Like, we were talking about this offset. I don't think this is like a 50-50 election, or that Trump has a 30% chance of winning. I think it's like a 10% chance of winning. I think those polls, to me, suggest that Hillary Clinton is in pretty darn good position. The only places where Trump really overperforms are in places where you have really high density of white voters, particularly older white voters and non-college educated white voters. So you look at a place like Ohio and Iowa where he's over-indexing. Everywhere else, I think he's really struggling. He never goes below 30.
So let me ask you this.
He never really goes above 42.
Look at the electoral vote. So he over-indexes in Iowa. He could win Iowa. He could win Pennsylvania, where he over-indexes, which has the same demographic makeup as Iowa. He over-indexes in Ohio. I can't believe he's up 5 points in Ohio right now. I can't believe it. He is. He's kept Florida close. I mean, if he wins those states, if he wins North Carolina, he's...
But he would have to win Florida. He would have to win Pennsylvania. Those are huge yes. He's probably not going to win Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania always looks better for Republicans than it actually is in an election year. And go ask Marco Rubio what his internals show when for Trump. He's way outperforming Donald Trump, particularly among Hispanic voters. And because of the way that the population in Florida votes in an election
I'm just saying
it's very hard for Trump to
over-indexing that you say of white, high school educated voters, go Trump's way in Pennsylvania, Iowa.
But they have to way over-index. Like, if you look at those polls, they all say the same thing. He's killing it with white men, killing it in some of these polls by 50 or 60 points. But when you look at college-educated white women, then it's like a 30-point gap between what Mitt Romney was doing. And that's why the last 6 weeks get uglier, not better, because he's looking at the same numbers.
By the way, look at this Franklin and Marshall poll. Tells quite a different story from Quinnipiac. This actually has Hillary Clinton up by 9 points, 47 to 38%. That tells
nobody cares, but there are your polls. Gary Johnson, like the bottom fell out. That guy last week.
He lost 50% of his vote in some of these battleground states, which is, I think, a big part of the story. The Gary Johnson slot has enabled undecideds to park there for a while, and now they're kind of pulling out of that.
Chris Cillizza, if you look purely from an electoral question, which is how, by the way, we elect the President of the United States, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, all these states we've talked about, if Donald Trump were able to win those and win back states that Romney lost, like Iowa, Nevada, and New Hampshire, he still would have to win Florida to have a shot. The point is, his path is and always has been so narrow that he has no margin for error, and if he loses Florida, he's not going to be president.
That's right. Look, I hate to focus too much on Florida, but I think Jim Van Dyke is right. If you give Hillary Clinton the 18 states plus D.C. that every Democrat has won since '92, now that includes Pennsylvania, but let's say we do that, and she wins Florida, the election's over. That's 271 electoral votes. I mean, it's really that simple.
Do you agree with Jim Van Dyke that this race is actually not as close as some of the polls would suggest? Jim's giving Trump a 10% chance of winning. You look at, I think, 538 and others. Some of them are into the 40s now.
I would give him more than a 10% chance, but it's not a 50-50 race. She doesn't. I think the problem here is that most people assume that the electoral map starts roughly even between the two of them. It doesn't. There are 242 electoral votes that have gone to the Democrat in every election since '92. There are 102 electoral votes that have gone to the Republican in every election since '92. That doesn't. Trump will get blamed for that if he loses, but the truth of the matter is, you can pick any nominee you want, Ted Cruz, Rubio, Kasich. Rubio and Kasich would help you in a Florida or an Ohio, but they would still, those are not included in that 242 and 102. There's just a built-in advantage, just like there were for Republicans in the 1980s. There's a built-in electoral map advantage built largely around demographics that is very hard to overcome. She has a lot of pass. He has very few, and every one of them has to have Florida and Ohio. We talk about North Carolina as a swing state, Joe. The problem here is that Mitt Romney won North Carolina when he was getting 206 electoral votes. So you take those 15 out from Trump, now he's under 200, well under 200. It's much harder for him to win. It's just math. I mean, he is overperforming in certain places, but not enough to make up for the electoral map that is really tough for him.
One other sentence of since we're geeking out on numbers. Every election going back to the 80s, you have the percentage of voters who are white in an election year decreases by 2 to 3%, and that is replaced by Hispanics and Asians. That's not a partisan
By
statement.
the way,
that is just a demographic
by the way,
fact.
Asian Americans are breaking more quickly for Democrats.
And they used to
than
break for
any
your
other-
party.
Yeah, than any other
Decisively.
demographic group.
No.
That has to be a grave concern for the Republicans. And also, if you're rooting for Donald Trump, Mika, you've got to look at the fact that they have no ground operation to speak of.
Right.
And that made a big difference for Barack Obama in 2008 and 2012.
Well,
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.